I make good money selling Christmas trees at night, not because I'm some holiday savant or a marketing genius, because the lot sits over something that wants out, because someone has to stand between it and the rest of the world, because bills have mouths and my kids have names. Most nights are just cold and lonely. Some nights, the trees are the closest thing to cover we have. When I pull into the lot, the strings of lights look like a county of fireflies pinned to the dark. The smell of cut pine is sharp in the air, so strong it feels like a substance. It sticks to my jacket. It sticks to the warmth in my chest, the small warmth I carry around the edges of my days for Emma and Jacob. I glance at my phone in the dash. The kids' faces pop up on the lock screen. Emma with her hair in 2 crooked braids, Jacob still missing half a tooth. I keep the picture on the home screen like a prayer. The gate is half open. That's the first thing I notice. A car parked crooked in the employee space, headlamps off. Someone has left the engine running once, kept it warm and breathing. The new hire is still standing by the trunk, zipping his jacket with hands that refuse to shake from nerves or cold. Mark. He's all teeth and earnestness and jokes that don't quite land. He's 22 and thinks the world can be explained with a grin. He's the kind of person who calls rules belts and suspenders. Cute metaphor. Dangerous belief. Thomas is there too, the manager, coming out of the kiosk with the folder tucked under his arm like a Bible. He's older than I remembered and looks like he's been up since last Christmas. He gives me a quick nod. That nod is the seal on everything here. The job, the pay, and the rules. I take the thermos from the counter and hand it to Mark like we're exchanging a baton. First night? I ask. He brightens. First real job. I worked retail before. This should be easy. I look at his hands. They're clean. They're hopeful. I feel the particular ache of wanting someone to make it home, not because they deserve it more than anyone else, but because it matters that people get back to their lives. Nothing about this is easy, I tell him, but it pays, and it keeps me home. You got any kids? Nope, just me. Let's do this. We do it because you do what you can. For me, that's following the rules. I start with the rules because rules are the shape of survival here. They're not charm bracelets. They're not superstition. They are procedure. They are everything. Rule 1. Never work the lot alone after dusk. If you're by yourself and the gate has been pulled shut, you wait where you are until someone else comes to relieve you. You do not walk the rows alone. You do not go hunting for a stray customer who says they only need a minute. Rule 2. Lock the gate at exactly 11 p.m. Not 11:05, not when you feel like it. At 11, you close the world down. You secure the perimeter. You draw the line. You do it calmly, without drama, because drama is attention, and attention is how holes find you. Rule 3. If you hear something in the porta potty or the tool shed between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., do not go check it yourself. Call for backup. Wait 15 minutes. Do not, under any circumstances, open the door wider than the chain allows. If someone is on the other side, you make space between you and them. You treat it like an incident, evidence, containment, observation. You do not be a hero. Rule 4. No alcohol sales after the cutoff. After the lot closes, anything that numbs you becomes a target. We do not let customers buy beer or wine after hours. We do not drink on shift. That's not moralizing. That's tactic. Rule 5. If a regular comes by and they're not themselves, if their smile is flat, if their eyes blink wrong, if their hands move out of sync, do not meet their gaze. Nod, step back, alert the manager. Do not offer them directions. Do not hand them twine. Cover the interaction in light and distance. Rule 6. If the string lights blink in a particular way, 2 slow, 1 quick, retreat to the kiosk, lock the inside door, and wait exactly 7 minutes. No creeping, no checking. After 7 minutes, if nothing else happens, call the manager. If it blinks again, start the 7 minutes over. If the blinking persists past 3 cycles, you call Thomas and you ask him to bring the folder. I say the rules out loud like I'm reading a manual, because sometimes the sound of it being said makes the blood settle into its safe places. Mark listens, nodding. Occasionally he grins, like we're at the punchline of an inside joke only he understands. For each rule, I give names. Jason worked here the season before last, thought late-night hunger was fixable with a pocket knife and curiosity. He went looking for something in the tool shed after midnight because he said he heard a baby crying. We found his jacket later, snagged on a pallet like a memory. They found other bits. It's a way of saying, stay in the light. Rebecca. She forgot to lock the gate on a Friday. She was exhausted. She'd pulled an extra shift. She closed 3 minutes late. 2 neighbors filed complaints about mice. We closed things up, and she never came back. People say she moved away. I know she moved into the other side. Karen. She came by the lot every week, bought the same scrawny sprig of mistletoe. One night she looked at me like she didn't know me and told me nothing mattered. She stared at my hands when I wrapped the twine, and when I looked back, there was a little pine needle stuck to her lip that wasn't there before. We stopped selling to her after that night. Names make rules survive in the brain. Stories are sharper than do's and don'ts. They leave teeth. Thomas chuckles in that small, bitter sound men make when they know jokes are all that's left. Stick to the list, Sam. If he doesn't understand it now, he'll learn. He taps the folder a couple times with his knuckle. The folder is thick, leather, and untitled. We don't take it out in front of the customers. It's there. It sits under the counter. It's like a not quite reliable god. That's for later, I tell Mark. Later is for people who have time to be curious. I pause for the soft CTA, like a breath, because when you're telling someone a long night, you sometimes have to hold their hand so they don't close their eyes. If you want the whole story, stick around, I say, casual, like I'm making a joke, like I don't know how much of this he'll make it through. He laughs. He says, "Oh, I'm staying." We start the shift with the practical things first. Check the generator, sweep the kiosk, test the floodlights. I show him where the keys live under the 3rd plank of the counter, wrapped in duct tape. I show him the pallet of twine, the saws hanging on the pegboard with tags, the first aid kit under the coffee table. Practical, mundane, comforting things. The lot is a stage for those objects. They look ordinary because we need them to. William is leaning by the tool shed when the lights come on. He's always where the dark meets the light, like a smudge left when you wipe your hand across a table. Tall, hoodie pulled low, hands in his pockets. There's a thermos next to him, balanced on a stump like an offering he didn't ask for. He's been working the lot as long as Thomas's fingers remember counting bills. He doesn't say much. He never gives his last name. People assume a lot about his past, and I'm not one of those people who needs to know. He shows up. He stands guard. He nods at me once. That nod is an exchange. "New guy?" he says to Mark, the voice low and dry. "Yeah," Mark replies. He tries to sound brave. He is not brave yet. William pushes off the shed and walks the perimeter in slow, deliberate steps. He doesn't check the porta-potty or the gaps in the canopy. He doesn't need to. He knows the rhythms of the place the way a tide knows the shore. The first hour is paperwork and small talk. People come by and buy wreaths. A regular named Joseph complains about the price of burlap. I tell him his wife will like it. The lot is small business normal. It's the quiet before the other thing that changes everything. At 10:30, someone rings the bell, a single soft clunk at the far gate. It's the first real test. I tell Mark to wait at the kiosk and watch the camera feed. We have an old camera mounted on a post that looks like it belongs in a different decade. The picture is grainy, but it's honest. On the screen, a woman stands just beyond the gate. She carries a small plastic bag, and her scarf is wrapped too tightly under her chin. Her hands move funny. She's jerking like she's trying to stay warm, but the movement is wrong, like she's imitating someone else's shivering. I point and say, "Remember Rule 5. Mark's face does a small disbelieving twitch. "She looks cold," he says. "She might be," I say. Or she might be something trying very hard to seem cold. Either way, we handle it the same. Nod, keep the distance, offer a coffee through the gate, ask if she needs directions, and when she's done, close the gate. We pass her a cup of coffee through the chain link with a gloved hand. She takes it and tilts the cup up quickly, her lips moving out of sync with that rapid, mechanical drinking. When I hand her the twine she asked for, she refuses my fingers and takes the twine from me with her elbows. I watch Mark watch her watch me. He is a student at a class he is not yet passed. The first test passes with nothing worse than a chill and a shiver that looks rehearsed. We close the gate at 10:40 because the rule about lock time is inflexible, and I don't trust that we'll be allowed to do it precisely at 11 if we're dealing with a thing on the perimeter. Thomas is the one who will do the formal 11 o'clock sweep, but the 90 minutes before midnight is where the lot learns its edges. At about 11, the string lights blink twice slow, one quick. It's 3 blinks. The smell of pine tightens like someone holding a lid over a pot. The radio crackles. I count the pattern by habit, 2 slow, 1 quick, and my throat tightens. 7 minutes, I tell Mark, to the kiosk, lock, wait. He makes a face like I'm being theatrical. I watch him because I have to know if he'll be the kind of person who does things we tell him to. He's the kind of person who laughs at instructions until the instructions save his life. We wait the 7 minutes. The lot hums, generator, wind, the smell of wet burlap. The blinking doesn't repeat. The 7 minutes finish, and the world is, for a breath, ordinary again. The rules buy us breaths like that. They are currency. I tell Mark the stories because stories are sharp. They teach faster than theory. I tell him about Jason and Rebecca and Karen. I tell him about a boy who'd left his jacket on a tree branch like he'd misplaced his home. I tell him about the thermos that never belonged to anyone, but cups poured into it every night by a hand that never warmed anyone. I tell him about how the porta-potty once sang. "That can't be real," he says after a pause, the cynicism smothered by the night's cold. Maybe it can, maybe it can't. Doesn't matter. These are the things that happen here. We treat them like things that can, because things happen whether you believe them or not. It is, in its way, the hardest lesson of the job. Belief is expensive. Disbelief is fatal. Mark is still light-hearted until he's not. The night starts to peel him. At 1:20 in the morning, a noise drags my attention across the lot. A scraping, slow and deliberate, like nails on plywood. It comes from the tool shed, the place where we stack the scrawny trees and the spare burlap. The camera catches the shadow, long and wrong. The scraping stops when William turns his head. "Don't go," I say into the dark. My voice is flat. "Call me. Get someone." He looks at the shed, then back at me. "Probably a raccoon." "You don't know what a raccoon sounds like at 1 in the morning. I make my voice so small I think it might be swallowed by the string lights. "Call Thomas." He pockets the radio like it's a dare. He laughs. "You always say that, Sam. You always make things sound epic. A raccoon would be disappointing." I tell him to take the walkie and call Thomas. He pretends his radio has died. He pretends, and pretending is what kills you inside the lot. William takes 2 steps toward the shed, and when he moves, the raccoon scrape resumes, but it's closer now, like it's right behind the shed wall. William opens the shed door and leans one shoulder in. The light inside is a thin cone. For a second, everything is ordinary. Pallets, twine, an old cap hanging on a nail. Then there's a sound that could almost be a laughter, and it's wrong, because laughter doesn't wrinkle like that. William's shoulders tighten. He pulls something out of the shed and slams the door. "You don't go in there unprepared," he says to Mark, like he's reading the side of a cereal box. His voice is soft and flat, and it lands like an order. Mark swallows. "Okay," Mark says. "Okay, I get it." We close the shed, and Thomas's steps come quick, the leather sole on concrete. He's got the folder under his arm and a flashlight. He doesn't try to make jokes. That's when I noticed Mark's grin has thinned into a line. He's not one of those yoked skeptics anymore. He's starting to weigh the cost. At 2:30, someone leaves a pair of wet footprints leading from the porta-potty to the tool shed. They're not ours. The prints are small and quick and end in a smudge like curtains drawn quickly across a face. I find them when I do the sweep, because the job trains your feet to know the land like a dog knows home. The prints are the kind you see in photographs and realize later were the first evidence of something you couldn't put a name to. I take a picture and send it to Thomas. He looks at it and slides the phone back into his pocket like a stone. We log it, he tells me. We note the time, we check the cameras. We don't go check alone. Mark watches me fold the photo into the little logbook. He still believes he's in a thriller he can control. I want to tell him that the world here is not a thriller. It's a ledger. It's math. You add up the smallest choices and see where they subtract lives. But you can't tell that lesson. You have to watch someone else learn it. He decides to learn it the wrong way. At 3 a.m., the lot is still. The shoppers are gone. The lights make puddles in the mud. I'm leaning against the counter, counting the minutes until my break, thinking about Emma and Jacob and whether Jacob will sleep through the thunder tonight. Mark comes up to me with a grin that's too confident and says, "Want to see something cool?" My stomach drops with the certainty that comes when a body knows something before the mind finishes the sentence. The porta-potty is open. The locking chain is hanging limp. There's no one inside. The door drags in the mud. Footprints lead away, small, quick, and then stop abruptly behind the tool shed. I look up. William is standing by the shed, hands folded like a silhouette waiting for his cue. He doesn't move. He never moves. When he sees me approach, he tilts his head once, like he's forwarding a message I already knew. "Did you go behind the canopy?" I ask without looking at him, words falling faster than they should. "No," he says. His voice is a gravel road. He says the kind of thing that saves a life and destroys the idea of the world you had. Someone else did. I sprint to the place the footprints stopped. There's a strip of disturbed earth, a drag mark across the mud that ends at the line of trees. I reach out and touch the mud. It's cold. It smells like metal and something else I don't have a word for. I look up and the lot feels different, like a room after a secret has been told. "Call Thomas," I say to William, because the job means you delegate and don't play the martyr. William reaches me the radio. His fingers are calloused. They lift in a motion that is almost tender. I hit the channel, throat dry. Thomas answers immediately, voice terse. "What?" "Mark's missing," I say. "Porta-potty open, footprints leading." "Stay put," Thomas says. "Do not approach whatever's out there." It's a simple command. It's the kind of command that tells you things that matter. I hear his boots on the concrete. He's coming. He's not moving fast. The weight of the folder sits between his ribs like a decision he has to make every night. I stand under the lines of light and count the rules out loud so I don't let my mind invent reasons to fail us. Never work alone. Lock the gate at 11. If you hear something in the porta-potty or shed between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., do not check alone. Wait 15 minutes. If the lights blink too slow, one quick, withdraw and wait 7 minutes. If they blink 3 cycles, call for the folder. Don't make eye contact with anyone who's not themselves. No alcohol after cutoff. I count the rules, because counting is the last thing that keeps you from unraveling. I watch for the dark on the edge of the lot. William takes off his hoodie and slaps it over his shoulders like a cape he doesn't believe in. He steps toward the line where the footprints end, and then he does something I've only ever seen him do in the most obvious times. He kneels and traces the mud with a finger as if he's reading a map. He doesn't go alone, he says. Not to me, not to Mark,
but to something across the lot that answers with a wind that flattens the lights for a breath. Thomas arrives with the flashlight and the folder. He sets it down on the hood of the car and unfastens the leather tie like he's opening a ledger. He doesn't smirk.
He doesn't make small talk. He flips the folder open with a surgeon's carefulness and slides a sheet toward us. There are symbols on the sheet I don't know. There are diagrams with loops and gates and little arrows that make sense if you believe the lot is mathematics. Thomas doesn't explain, not fully. He never explains. He just says, the lot sits on a thin spot. We don't poke spots, we patch them. Mark's jacket is on the ground near the torn canvas. No mark, just the jacket. The zipper is half closed like someone left it in a hurry. I reach down and get a whiff of the collar. It smells like him and something else, copper and cold, and a sweetness that isn't holiday spice. We follow the rules now, I say to Thomas. My voice is small. Call the police? He looks at me with all the tiredness that precedes official action. We call them and we tell them it's a missing person. We do not tell them what we think until they ask. Keep it simple, keep it true. It's the protocol. It's also a lie of sorts. We keep the truth to ourselves because some things need containment. The police will do paperwork and lights and cameras. We will do ritual and watchfulness. Both are real, both are necessary, both are a kind of armor. Thomas closes the folder and puts it back under his arm like closure has weight. He looks at William and then at me and then at the jacket in the mud. You stayed on script? He asks, like he's asking if we remembered to close the shutters. I did, I say. I told him the rules. You told him the rules? Thomas says twice, softer this time, as if he's asking if we told Mark, and as if asking means we might have saved him. Yes, I tell him. He left. Thomas breathes out a sound that tastes like seasons changing. He opens the kiosk door and locks it with a key we all know is more than a key. The click makes a small sound like promise. I stand there under the lights, the folder on the counter behind me, Mark's jacket in the mud, a small dark accusation, and I feel like someone who's watched a house burn because someone left a window open and thought the fire was a joke. We log it, we write down times, we tape the footprint photo to the logbook. We call in to the rest of the crew. Someone arrives with a flashlight and another person who can smell like bleach and worry. We do the small things like professionals of the edge do. We mark off the area. We keep witnesses apart. We don't let anyone walk where the prints go cold. We don't touch the canvas. We collect a witness statement like it's a talisman. Stay to your posts, Thomas says quietly, and I do. William stands in the lot like a billboard that refuses to sell anything. He watches the dark with a focus I have trouble calling human. He does not leave. He has never left. I crouch and pick up Mark's jacket because it's the only thing I can salvage. My fingers find a crumpled Polaroid in the pocket, showing a kid with a ridiculous hat at a lake, someone whose smile felt like a promise. I fold it and put it in the log. You keep everything you can, because memory is fragile and evidence is worse. The camera footage, grainy, honest, merciless, shows Mark slipping behind the canopy. It shows him standing under the tarp, laughing at something, an easy boy. It shows a shape moving near him, a shadow that steps wrong. The camera goes fuzzy for a moment, and then the frame behind Mark is empty. The canopy snaps back into place with no person inside. The feed flickers. You can see, very clearly, the jacket fall, and nothing else. I'm not a religious person. I'm a person who prays with logistics. But I say, under my breath, old things, like a list. Stay alive. Get back to your kids. Don't do a thing that will make you regret your choices forever. Those petitions feel small when a world is hungry. At 4 a.m., the lot is smaller. The lights are only a halo around the kiosk and the headlights of the cop car that's finally arrived. A uniformed officer asks his questions like he's building a map. He's careful. He asks me where Mark last was. He asks me if anyone else was present.
He asks me if we noticed anything unusual. My answers are flat. The police want facts. They do not ask for metaphors. They do not ask for the folder. Detective Ryan Bennett comes by later, not in uniform, a little rumpled, wearing a coat too thin for the lot. He has the look of someone who has seen the edge of things before and found that it makes the rest of the world look old. He's patient, and he asks the practical things. When was the jacket last seen? Who else saw him? Was there a vehicle? Did he have any enemies? I answered the questions because I have to. I do not tell him about blinking lights. I do not tell him about the smell that was not pine. I do not tell him about the way William crouched and read mud like a map. We don't introduce the supernatural into the report. The report is a place for human things. The folder stays in the kiosk, closed. They take Mark's jacket as property. They look at the footprints. They bag the mud sample like it's evidence. They put it into a plastic sleeve with numbers on it. It's the kind of process that anchors grief into a shape. Grief becomes paperwork. Grief goes into an envelope. When the officers leave, Thomas locks the folder into the safe in the kiosk. It makes a dry, small sound. The lot holds its breath. William steps away from the shed and watches us like someone who has been counting and knows which number will come next. I drive home slow in the blue hour. The kids are asleep when I open the door. Emma's hair smells faintly of something I can't name. Maybe a shampoo she likes, maybe just a childhood. Jacob rolls over and mumbles something I can't understand. They are small and untorn and whole in a way that makes me both grateful and afraid.
I eat something cold out of a Tupperware because making a hot meal feels dangerous, and I don't like danger near them. I climb into bed and stare at the ceiling like it can hold answers. There are things in the world you cannot keep at bay with kindness alone. There are things that only obey other rules. I tell myself I did what I could. I told him the rules. I showed him the ways to measure the dark. I do not let myself think of the way the canopy looked when he walked under it, like a man stepping into a throat. I wake at 9 with the folder in my dreams like a weight at the foot of the bed. The phone rings before my eyes can fully lift. It's Thomas. He says we'll be back tonight. He says the cameras have something we need to look at together. He says there will be extra money for cleanup, for the kids, for the inconvenience. His voice is more businesslike than it has any right to be. I hang up, and the world tilts toward the next shift like a bad carousel. The lot does not close because of what happened. It keeps its hours. People still want wreaths and trees and the illusion of normalcy. We are in a peculiar profession. We sell holiday joy, and we hold the seam shut between things that are patient and hungry. The job is a ledger of both. At 5 p.m. that evening, I come back. The lot has been roped off where the prints were. There is yellow tape that reads "Caution" fluttering like a ripple. The jacket is gone. The tarp is folded and set aside, like something a larger hand has smoothed out of sight. Mark's mother calls just after I return. Her voice is a small thing that threatens to shatter. She asks where her boy is. I tell her what I can. I tell her how we called the police. I keep my sentences short because the truth is too big for conversation. She asks if he'll be found. I answer the only honest thing I can. We're doing everything we can. William is at the lot when I drive in. He's planted on a stump, watching. He folds his hands around his thermos and offers it to me like an exchange. I take it. The coffee is bitter and steady. He doesn't smile. He does not have to. Tonight we have another new hire. Her name is Ashley. She's been moved up from the florist over on 7th. She has the kind of hands that have already been burned by work,
They know how to hold fragile things without crushing them. She listens while I run through the rules again. I say them like a metronome because the night wants rhythm. Never work alone, I tell her. Lock at 11, she says back, as if we were practicing vows. If the lights blink, 2 slow, 1 quick, move to the kiosk. Wait 7 minutes, call the manager. No one goes into the porta potty or the shed alone between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. No alcohol sales after cutoff. Do not meet anyone's gaze if they are not themselves. If you hear scratching, do not investigate alone. If the pattern repeats, we escalate. Ashley studies me. Her eyes are steel.
She writes the list down in a notebook with a careful hand. She has questions, precise and unafraid. She asks about the camera angles, about the logbook process, about where we keep the first aid kit and the extra batteries. She's the kind of person who wants to do things the right way. It's a small mercy. I watch her slip on the gloves the way someone might try on armor. She's not too young to be calloused. She's not yet jaded. She's an excellent candidate to become careful, and that's how the world survives. Good people learning to be careful. The lot breathes around us, the smell of pine like a cathedral. The strings of lights burn their slow, faithful circles. Thomas gives me back the folder long enough to show me an extra page, security footage from earlier, something the police had yet to pull. The image is grainy. It shows Mark behind the canopy. It shows the shape that took him. The shape is not human. It is a suggestion of shoulders where shoulders shouldn't be. It is a smear of motion where the camera can't quite hold still. "You didn't do anything wrong," Thomas says to me, and he means it like a small litany for the living. "You didn't send him. You told him the rules." "I told him," I answer. Saying it out loud makes it fall flat into the air. It doesn't change anything. At 10 p.m. the gate is open, and we are working the edges like stitchers at a seam. People come through the gate with the weird kind of cheer you see in people who've been promised something better. They pick a tree like it's an emblem they can take home and return to later. The lot is its ordinary self. It feels obscene to call it temporary. It's also true. At 11, I stand at the gate with the key in my hand. My fingers know the little dent where the leather rubs. I look at the clock and I try to imagine the number 11 like a ritual. Each second drips. With practice, the ritual becomes prayer. The clock hits 11 and I move like someone who's done this before. I slide the bolt, lock the gate, and the click is a small thunder. "Never work alone," I murmur, and the gate answers by being closed. We go about our shift. The nights carve themselves into rules and responses. Ashley is good. She asks smart questions and follows through. Thomas watches with a little smile that doesn't reach his eyes. William walks the perimeter and comes back with mud on the soles of his boots like he's been to a place we don't name. The folder sits under the counter like a sleeping animal. And somewhere in the dark beyond the rows of trees, something has found an interest. It moves like a rumor, shifting the air. It tugs at the canvas of the job, testing where the seams are weakest. It finds them not because it's clever, but because the night is full of openings and people like Mark who think a rule is a suggestion rather than an instruction. At midnight, there's a knock at the canopy that sounds like fingers on wood. I look up. The floodlights flicker. For the first time since the night started, my training and my fear feel like the same thing. I tell Ashley, "If you hear anything in the porta potty or the shed between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m., you call me. We wait 15 minutes. If it's still there, you call Thomas." If it's still there, you call Thomas. Ashley nods like she's swallowed a promise. Outside, the lot is a patient animal.
breathing slow, flaring its lights against the dark. I tuck my hands into my pockets and pretend to check the logbook, because pretending keeps you moving when the rest of you wants to sit very still and wait for an answer the night may not give. The knock comes again. It's softer this time. 2 taps, then 1. The canopy answers with the sound of canvas moving as if someone has walked along its seam. The string lights flutter and then go dim. Not out, but like someone turned the river off and left a leak. The radio at my hips squeals with interference, a hiss that makes the hairs on my arms stand up. The generator's rhythm stutters for 1 beat and then steadies, like it's chosen who to trust. Lights blinked, I say. The words taste like metal in my mouth. Ashley moves without drama. She slides the little metal box from beneath the counter, the box we keep the lanterns in, and taps it open like it's a first aid kit. Inside are the devices, small, battered lanterns that look like something a prospector would have used. They're ugly and precise, each one lined with a strip of dull metal etched with symbols I don't read, but which Thomas swears mean nothing if you don't know how to hold them. He taught me how to prime them last winter. You don't talk about them at the register. You don't let customers touch them. You don't let anyone drunk work the priming. You remember? I ask. She nods. Light them. Spread them at the corner posts. 2 on the gate, 1 by the shed, 1 outside the porta-potty, 1 by the canopy. Keep them between us and the dark. Don't let them go out. The lanterns smell like oil and old pennies when she opens them. I want to close my fist around something steady. My car keys, a Polaroid, the thermos, anything that says normal. But the night doesn't give me that luxury. We line the lanterns like sentries, 1 at the gate, hot against the chain link, 1 propped by the shed on a splintered stump, 1 on the porta-potty step, 2 balanced near the canopy posts. Their light is not comforting. It's direct. It makes the shadows look dull and flat, as if the dark cannot find a place to crouch and wait. The lights blink again. 2 slow, 1 quick. I feel the rule like a pressure band tightening around my chest. 7 minutes, I say, and my voice is small and precise. I lock the kiosk, turn the bolt, and the world contracts into the inside of that little room with its countertop full of receipt books and candy, where the folder sits like a thing with teeth. We wait. 7 minutes on a clock slides long and thin. The lot tastes like cold iron and pine. I stand with my back to the door as if the wood will keep something from pressing against my shoulders. Ashley breathes slow, calm breath, measured by habit. William is still out by the shed, hands in his pockets, head tilted like he's listening to a conversation only he can hear. Thomas stands with the flashlight off. He prefers to keep it that way until something needs cutting with light. It's a small, stubborn denial of panic. At 3 cycles, the blinking stops. The lanterns hum, each one like a throat clearing, and the lights stay. For a minute, the lot is ordinary again. Customers who are real, a woman buying a wreath, the generator's near constant sigh. We let ourselves believe we've bought the night. It is a lie we sometimes let ourselves tell. It keeps us moving. Then the canopy tears. It's not a dramatic explosion. It's a sound like a long hand undoing stitches. A seam gives and the canvas peels upward as if something beneath it has pushed. I hear it first as a tentative shift at my feet, like paper folding. Then the light over the canopy shudders and goes out. The lantern by the post gutters and flares like someone exhaling in panic. The world tightens into a dozen small, sharp motions. I'm at the canopy before I have time to think about whether I want to be there. My boots sink in wet mud. The trees around me are a crowd of dark teeth. The tarp has been shoved aside, and there is a place beneath it that looks less like a gap and more like a mouth. Something moves there. Not with the clumsy tump of animal, and not with the precise geometry of a person. It is more like someone trying to remember how to be held together. Seams in the wrong places, limbs that do not correspond to joints. Its face, if it can be called that, is a suggestion of features tied into a strip of canvas. The smell from under the canopy is wrong, too sweet for winter, like someone has been storing fruit in the shed for months and forgot to feed it water. Ashley steadies herself beside me, eyes on the creature.
She's younger than me, and yet when she moves, it's with a kind of clean clarity. She has already placed a lantern on the nearest post. Its metal is warm where she grips it, and she does not let go. "We don't engage," she says, and her voice is flat with training. "We funnel, we light, we contain." Contain, I echo, because words are things you can hold while hands do the rest. Thomas is shouting into his radio, calling the others. We have shorthand, names that mean more than they should. The lot fills with small human noises, steps, the tearing of canvas, William moving like a shadow toward the shed. The creature under the canopy flails as if it's learning to be angry. It reaches with something that could be a hand, and it grazes a lantern. The metal flares bright. The thing screams like a child, but hollow and wrong. It recoils as if the light cuts it. The seams of its body unravel a little where moisture collects like tears. That sound, half cry, half rip, is what most people remember when they close their eyes about the lot. It's not the worst thing. There will be worse. At the same time, a new noise starts from the direction of the porta-potty, a banging, like someone trying to get out of a box. The lantern there is bobbing. Someone is smearing mud against the door in an attempt to get purchase. The shed is humming with scratch, sharper now, 1,000 small claws on wood. The gate takes a hit, 2 large thumps that echo like fists. We've trained for asymmetric pressure. We haven't trained for everything happening at once. We split by rule. That is how we do it. You divide the crises, you label them, you assign where the light will be. We cannot be in the same place at once. That is a math problem in a field of mud. Thomas barks orders like a man reading from the folder. He doesn't open it, but it informs his mouth. He says, "Ashley, take the lanterns and make a line from the canopy to the kiosk. Sam, you're on the porta-potty. Hold the line. William, with me, shed. Do not break the circle." I take the radio and answer, steady, because people take orders better when they hear them from someone who's already trembling. "Copy," I say, "holding porta-potty. 7-minute protocol if it hits. Wait 3 cycles if lights blink. If anyone gets past, we go to the safe room." We have a safe room in the kiosk. It's practical, a reinforced little office with a metal door and a narrow window and the folder under the counter. It smells like stale coffee and receipts. It's not magic. It's a place to breathe and to wait until dawn. It's also a place you go when your choices have to be fewer and precise. We keep it for nights like this. The porta-potty rattles. The sound is a series of clicks, like someone trying to figure out the chain and not succeeding. I plant myself there with a lantern at my feet and the radio pressed to my jacket. The door shutters and then wraps 2 more. The chain slides, slow. For a second, I imagine a person on the other side, long-limbed and frantic and human. I imagine the face of Mark and the way he smiled at the canopy the other night and thought it was a joke. Images like that are dangerous. They anchor you to a grief that makes you reckless. A voice comes through the plastic of the porta-potty as if from underwater. It imitates a child's whimper, exactly the kind of sound that unsettles the gut. It's the lure the lot teaches you to resist, small human sounds, because we guard neighborhoods with people who answer cries. The voice says, "Help me," bright and soft. We have a rule about voices. You do not open to a voice. You do not answer with your body. You answer with procedure. I hit the speaker on the radio. My voice is a whisper that the man in the vehicle at the gate could heed if he cared. "Who is it?" I say. The voice laughs and then becomes only a rippled echo. The chain slides further. The door opens. I should have stayed by the kiosk. I should have made Thomas unlock it with a plan. But the sound behind that plastic is calibrated to eat the part of you that is apparent. It knows about voices and the way you will try to give your life in exchange for a sound. I see it in my head. Emma's face, a loose braid in the dark, Jacob fumbling for a sock, and for a second the logic I've lived by loosens.
For a second, I understand the people who don't follow rules. For a second, it's unbelievably easy to go there and get whatever it is in the porta potty and bring it back. I don't go in. Ashley doesn't let me. She steps between me and the door like she can wedge herself into the shape of a rule. Her hand clamps on my wrist, hard enough to sting. "Sam," she says. Her voice is steadier than it has any right to be. "We follow the rules." I cough out a laugh that is more like a broken incantation. "I'm not my kid's hero," I say. "I'm a checker of boxes. I get them home." "You get them home by following the boxes," she says. It's so obvious that it burns. The porta-potty door eases open, and a shape pushes against the night. It's small and wrong, the suggestion of a child. It looks like something crafted from the folds of blankets and memory. It tilts its head, and that takes a minute to realize is not charming. It has the impression of a face. It's like a hand-drawn smile nailed to a puppet. The lantern by the door blinks and goes steady. The creature tilts its head where the light is and then recoils as if the metal has burned it. William appears at the back of the porta-potty like he was in the room the whole time. He moves so fast that my brain registers it in snippets: a knee, a shoulder, the dark of a hoodie. His hand is in the creature, as if he's closing the seam on a wound. He doesn't speak. His fingers are wrong. The skin is too smooth, like the bark of a willow. And when he touches the thing, it snarls and collapses into a pile of useless rags that smell of warm rot. He hands something back to us. Not a child. A scrap of cloth. A hair ribbon. It shouldn't make you breathe, but it does. William sets it on the stump and covers it with his fist as if blessing it. He doesn't look at me. He looks away like he's keeping his face for himself. It's one small victory. It's not the one we needed most. From the shed, the scratching crescendos into a pound. Thomas comes at a run, the folder bouncing like a heartbeat at his side. He opens it on the hood of the pickup and slides out a sheet unlike the others, a diagram with circles and a small paragraph scrawled in a hand that trembled into clarity. He doesn't read it aloud. He points. "These are weak seams," he says. "They're connective tissue to the place. They gust at the points where we have openings: porta-potty, shed, canopy, gate. You reinforce them with line."
Light at posts, lanterns. Don't let them be interrupted. Sound matters. Don't shout unless you have to. If the canopy tears, you pull it down and secure the edges. You don't chase the thing under it. The instructions feel less like witchcraft and more like the part of a manual that has a burn mark, practical and admonished. We all know them because generations of men and women have gone home with hands that tremble and jobs that pay the rent. The gate is hit again, harder. This time it bends inward like someone pushing with both shoulders. A real car horn blares somewhere beyond the lot and then dies. Someone is pressing against the world. Thomas fumbles a ring of keys and opens the safe. For those of us who know, the safe is a myth until it isn't. He pulls out a length of thick twine, a coil of something that looks like rope but is woven with metal wire. He doesn't explain why the thing is in the safe. He doesn't have to. It is what we have for nights when light and patience don't hold. "Form a corridor," he says. "We put a rope from the kiosk to the canopy. Lanterns at every post. If they get through one post, we push them toward the next. If they cross the rope, we fall back to the kiosk. If anyone gets snatched, do not pursue. Do not pursue." We obey because we have no other good options. The rope is heavy and smells like metal and salt. We run it out across the mud and tie it off at the posts. It becomes a spine across the lot. People on the other side of the rope will not willingly cross it, because there's a difference in texture when you step over. Even the creatures seem to hesitate. The attacks come in waves, as if the thing that was pressing wants to see if persistence will work. A figure tries to press through at the gate, limbs that don't bend the right way.
The lanterns flare, and its skin seems to lose cohesion, dropping like ribbons that the wind eats. The shed fabric caves inward, and something like a mouth opens against the wood. The canopy jerks and strains. The ground vibrates with a sound like something dragging a chain. We are small, and the night is patient. It tests us like a tide tests a seawall. At one point, someone screams, a human sound, raw and loud. It is Detective Ryan Bennett's voice. He had circled back with a headlamp and a solemn expression, insisting he could help. He didn't stay long. That is the way of men who search and then realize a different kind of law applies. He watches from the edge of the lot now, his coat flapping like a different kind of rag, his face set in lines. It is then that the thing at the gate finds a seam. The gate buckles, and part of the chain link becomes a jaw. It pushes through like something that has learned to press at weak points and then fold through. A hand, if I can call it that, finds the rope and curls around it. It tries to pull itself over. I feel a cold in my hands that is not the weather. It travels up like electricity and then blooms into a kind of blind panic.
"Do not let go," Thomas screams. William is at the gate the way shadows are at windows. He doesn't run. He moves with a balletic stillness, the kind of control that says experience has a heavy price. He jams his shoulder into the chain link and pushes back. For a second, human logic says this should be useless. For a second, I reckon on physics and find it wanting. William's body collapses into the gate like a tidal rock, and the thing on the other side screams in an odd double pitch, one note like a child, one like something much older. I act because we have had practice. Ashley takes a wooden pole and slides it under the creature's wrist to pry it from the rope. Thomas pulls a length of twine and tightens the circle. The lanterns around us flare as if relieved at having a job. The creature gives a last shuddering sound and then recedes, and the gate slams closed with a metallic clang that leaves the air high and ringing. William stays pressed to the gate afterward as if he's been holding it open for us. When he turns, I see the crease of something under his skin, like a line of color not quite human. I do not ask. He does not explain. He places his palm on the hood of the pickup and breathes as if the rust around it is a crutch. We have a breach closed. We have a victory. It is not the kind that makes the papers. The tarp is in tatters. The porta-potty door leans. The shed has gouges like the work of claws. The lanterns are nicked and one is shattered. There is mud on our clothes like a profession badge. We count wounds, scrapes, a busted knuckle, a hairline cut on Thomas's eyebrow. Nothing that will keep us from returning at dusk. Not yet. William leaves again without a word. He walks to the furthest line of trees and stands in a hollow like a sentinel. I watch him and realize this is the third time I have seen him do something that is both protective and indifferent. He picks up Mark's jacket off a stump where we'd left it like a bookmark and holds it for a moment. His fingers close around the fabric and something like a sigh leaves him. He drops it onto the stump and walks away. His hands are steady. His face is unreadable. "Did anyone see him touch it?" Ashley asks me. I shake my head. He handled it like a thing that needed less anger and more distance. We stay until dawn. It is not dramatic. The lot niggles us with small noises. Gulls, the far hiss of highway tires, a neighbor's truck starting up. The sky bleeds light like a bruise. The creatures that tried us fade like the end of a fever. The lanterns, one by one, fail. Likely oil, likely wire. We collect them with gloved hands and strip their pieces into a crate the way you would pack away a first aid kit. Thomas tapes a report into the folder and slides it under the counter like it will never see daylight. The mud is full of footprints that belong to no single species. The photographs we take do what photographs do, capture light and lie in the fine print.
Detective Bennett returns at a more practical hour, with a notebook and a face that is some combination of disbelief and learned compromise. He asks questions we've already answered: times, names, the sequence. He circles the tarp and the porta-potty in the shed and takes notes as if the world can be made sensible that way. I answer him with the human things: logs, timestamps, witness statements. Thomas tells him about the coat, the jacket, and the prints. We keep the rest to ourselves. He looks at us with an expression that is both pity and respect. He asks if anyone else will be working the lot tonight. I say yes. I mean it. "Weird night," he says at last, and there is no sneer in it. He has seen the parts of the world that have no category. He has learned to say fewer words. When he leaves, he pats Thomas's shoulder with the blankness of a man who doesn't expect to understand, only to follow procedure. Procedures are islands we all inhabit when other logic is absent. We clean up like professionals. We fold the tarp into something manageable. We cart away the busted lantern and the ruined ropes. We bundle them like funerary cloths, small tokens of a night that wanted more. There's a team that comes in mid-morning, guys in fluorescent vests sent by the company. They speak in the language of liability and insurance and checklists. They haul away the ruined canopy and stack it by the garage. They ask whether we want the night off. Thomas gives them a look that says the ledger has already been balanced. Some holes require stitches, some require watchmen. We don't get an official night off. We get extra cash in our pay packets, and that is the closest currency we have to consolation. I watch Emma and Jacob from the blurred safety of my kitchen window that afternoon. They are both messy and warm and impossible. Emma reads something upside down, and Jacob uses a fork like it's a microphone. I sit at the table with my hands folded, because that's what keeps my fingers from performing the movements of the night. The house smells like dinner and kids and the unremarkable tenderness of life. In the mail is a note from Mark's mother. She doesn't say much, just a page of ink that trembles. She thanks anyone who can be thanked and asks questions that have no practical answers. I fold the page and tuck it into my jacket because it's a relic now, something to remind me that the losses in our ledger are not just an entry, but a life. I think of Mark's grin and the way he called the rules belts and suspenders. It's a small cruelty of the world that people mock the things that keep them alive. That night we return. The lot smells of sawdust and a kind of resigned purpose. The tarp is replaced with a temporary patch. The shed is reinforced with plywood. We put up signs about safety and hours and a polite notice about refunds. The customers come as they always do.
They want a tree that will fill their living room and make the holidays smell like something holy and simple. They do not ask about seams in the world. They do not want to know. Ashley comes on early, and she's more solid than she was the day before. The lines around her mouth are smaller now, but she has the look of someone who's been given a choice and taken one that is sharper. Thomas walks us through a new page in the folder, practical things, steps for reinforcement of seams, the rhythm of the rope and the lantern placement. He speaks in a low, clear voice that suggests the folder is not the origin, but a codification. We don't have an explanation that makes sense in the world the police will accept, he says. What we have are patterns. The lot sits on an intersection. Things press where seams are thin. We don't poke. We don't protract. We contain, and we wait for dawn. The folder is a ledger of what worked and what didn't. Consider it insurance. I can see why he carries it like scripture. It's not pretty. It's a manual that smells faintly of lemon oil and old paper. Inside are photos, notes, pressure points, arrows and times, and the names of people who didn't make it home. You'd think the existence of such a book would be a promise. It is not. It's documentation. It's how we keep a night from becoming a habit. William appears as if conjured by the mention of him. He stands near the string lights, watching the customers with a kind of neutral focus. A toddler reaches forward and tugs at his hoodie, and he hands the child a pine cone. He is both more and less than the man people tell themselves he is. He is an agency that moves toward ruptures. He is a watchman, perhaps not of this world, perhaps not of any world that keeps neat rules. The nights go like this after Mark, tighter.
People who come by for wreaths are not as casual. We enforce the rule about no alcohol sales, reminding ourselves that numbing is an invitation and that the lot does not forgive that kind of sloppiness. We check the generator twice. We run the cameras and log everything. We set an extra lantern by the gate because we can. We get better, or we get more practiced. Ashley becomes a fixture. She takes on the lot like someone who knows how to keep fragile things steady. Thomas becomes the curator of the folder. He reads it like a man who has to memorize prayers. William keeps his stump and thermos and the manner of a man who has always been here. I go home every morning, kiss the kids, and try to pretend that the 2 hours I get in the light is a full life. It isn't. It's one of the ways I remember why I do this. A week after the canopy tour, Detective Bennett comes by again. He's not interested in the folder. He's interested in a human chain of custody and whether the company will be held responsible for a missing employee. He looks at the tarp and lifts a corner. He doesn't ask about the lanterns. He asks about logs and shifts. We give him what he needs.
He thanks us for the honesty. We thank him for the work he chooses. At dusk, the lot fills with familiar faces. Some are regulars, some are first-timers. A woman buys 3 little trees at once and says she's making a shrine in her mother's memory. A man wants the biggest balsam he can find for a promise to his kids. That is the ordinary, enormous thing the lot still sells. An hour of hope, a shape for a home. There is no grand epiphany after Mark. There is only repetition and the slow accretion of practice. The night teaches you in small increments. We live on those increments. Our paychecks arrive with extra line items. The company pays for repairs with an accounting that is formally dispassionate. The neighbors sleep because someone watches the seam. One night, months later, the breeze is thin and the lights are sharp. Emma is asleep with her head on my lap, thumb tucked like a secret. Jacob is crying in his sleep because he dreamt of losing a tooth. My phone buzzes. Thomas asking if I can extend my shift. The ledger demands one more night. I tuck the children in and tell them I will be home by dawn. Jacob asks me if I'll be safe. I look at him and don't lie. Yes, I say, I will be back. There are moments when the mind wants to make heroes of us all. There are nights when William makes a place to hide your head and refuses to explain why. There are rules that read like litany and become bones. We follow them the way you follow a recipe for something that may or may not feed you. We follow them because the cost of not following them is not theoretical. The lot will always be a seam. It will always be a place things press. People will continue to drive in for wreaths and balms and to buy a shape for their living rooms. Others will test the edge. There will be new Markish smiles, bright and clever and brittle. There will be new Ashleys who hear the list and keep it like a talisman. We will show up. We will place lanterns and tie rope and lock the gate at 11. And when the night comes, the rules fold like a manual you keep under your pillow. Never alone. Lock at 11. Wait the minutes. Don't answer the voice. Light the lanterns. Don't meet their eyes. They are not poetry. They do not warm things. They save us. I stand at the gate once more, the key cold in my hand. The string lights blink across the rows of trees. William is a dark smudge by the shed, a figure that eats the corner of the lot. Ashley is in the kiosk checking the log. Thomas is a silhouette with the folder under his arm. The thermos on the stump steams in the blue air. The work we do is small and enormous. It is the kind of thing that will never be on a postcard. It will not be a line in a biography. But it feeds bills and keeps kids in shoes, and sometimes it holds a seam closed by nothing more than practice, light, and stubborn people.